I remember the first time I held him. He was wrapped in a blue hospital blanket, crying that brand new baby cry that sounds like it's tearing the world in half. My hands shook, my heart raced. Karen looked at me and smiled, her face pale but glowing. "Meet your son," she said. But the moment I looked down, I felt it, that electric pulse in my gut, that wrongness. He didn't look like me, not even a little. Babies change, I told myself. Maybe it's just the lighting. Maybe it's the shock. Maybe it's just paranoia after 18 hours of labor and no sleep. But as I stared at the boy, his dark hair, the curve of his mouth, the shape of his ears, one thought drilled through my skull like a whisper I couldn't shake. He looks just like David. David was my best friend. Had been since college. We'd been through everything together. Drunken nights, cross-country road trips, heartbreaks, weddings, careers. He was the best man at my wedding. Held my shoulder when my died. Built the crib with me, tall, broad, charming. One of those men who walked into a room and everyone instantly liked him, especially women. He was around a lot during the pregnancy, always helping, always showing up with groceries or building baby furniture. I thought nothing of it. He was Uncle Dave, the family friend, the third wheel, the loyal brother I never had. But standing in that hospital room, holding a child with his eyes, something changed. I buried the thought. What else could I do? Karen was exhausted, glowing with pride. Everyone came in to congratulate us. Nurses, her parents, my sister. I smiled. I held my son. I said the right things. I pretended everything was fine, but it wasn't, not for me. Over the next few weeks, I told myself I was overreacting. I watched him grow, watched his face fill out, waiting for something of mine to appear. My eyes, my chin, my awkward smile. But every milestone brought more of him into that boy's face. The same dimple on the left cheek, the same thick black hair, the same long fingers and wide grin. People said, "He looks like a movie star." They didn't realize they were describing David. One day, I stood at the bathroom mirror, shaving, and I stared at my own face. I traced the line of my jaw. Then I stared at a photo of David from our college days taped to the fridge. It hit me like a punch in the chest. I could see the same face looking back at me from the crib. Still, I said nothing. Why? Because I loved that boy. And because I loved my wife. And because if I asked the question out loud, I couldn't take it back. The doubt never left me. It lived in the back of my mind, quiet and watchful. It surfaced at odd times, when he laughed just like David, when he crossed his arms the same way, when his expressions mirrored someone I didn't see in the mirror. By the time our son turned 5, I was no longer just wondering. I was watching how Karen spoke about David, always warmly, always protectively. Watching how David looked at my son, not like an uncle, not like a friend, but like something more. And still I said nothing. Instead, I turned inward. I worked longer hours. I traveled when I didn't have to. I smiled less, listened less, and Karen noticed. "You're distant," she said once, folding laundry on the bed. "What's going on with you?" I wanted to scream. I wanted to say, How long has he been mine and not yours? But I didn't. I just said, I'm tired. And maybe I was, tired of holding a question I was too afraid to ask. One night, I watched David playing catch with our son in the backyard. They moved the same, laughed the same. It was like watching a man toss a ball to a smaller version of himself. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay awake next to Karen, staring at the ceiling, wondering how long love could survive without trust. Wondering if love built on a lie was love at all. When our son turned 12, something broke in me. Not loudly, not all at once, just quietly, like a rope snapping in the cold. We were at his school for a science fair. He'd built a model rocket and named it after some galaxy I couldn't pronounce. His mother beamed with pride. David was there too. Just to support, he said. They stood side by side, Karen and David, cheering for the boy, and I stood off to the seat, clapping with strangers. Later that night, Karen asked me why I was so quiet. I looked her in the eyes and asked, why does he look so much like David? She blinked. It was the first time I had ever said it out loud. She forced a laugh. What? He doesn't? But her voice cracked, and she didn't meet my eyes. Forget it, I said. But I didn't forget. I started keeping a journal, nothing dramatic, just notes, dates, photos, things people said, mannerisms, voice recordings of conversations with David, not because I planned to confront them, not yet, but because the truth doesn't hide forever, and someday I would need more than suspicion. I would need evidence. The idea of the test haunted me. I would stand in the bathroom at night, toothbrush in hand, staring at the unopened DNA kit I ordered under a fake name. I hid it in my sock drawer, stared at it every day, dared myself to open it. It took 6 months of smiling at a boy who called me Dad, of saying I love you, and wondering if I had a right to say it. 6 months of sleeping next to a woman who I suspected had lied to me every day for 2 decades, and then one Saturday morning, while my wife was grocery shopping and our son was mowing the lawn, I swabbed my cheek, put it in the envelope, dropped it in the mail. It was like dropping a bomb with no fuse. Then I waited. 3 weeks later, the email arrived. Results ready. I stared at my laptop for 10 minutes before it clicked. My hands were sweating. My chest was tight. And then there it was. Probability of paternity. Point I sat there for a long time. No screaming, no punching walls, just stillness, like a death without a body. That night, Karen found me sitting in the dark. The TV was on, volume low. I hadn't moved in hours. You okay? She asked. I nodded. She came over and kissed the top of my head, and I let her. That was the moment I realized something terrifying. She believed the lie so deeply, she forgot it was one. I didn't tell her about the test. Not that night. Not the next night. Not for months. I watched them instead. Every laugh between her and David at a family barbecue, every time she texted and turned her screen away, every time David gave my son advice and he nodded like it was gospel, I watched and I planned. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to explode and be dismissed as emotional. No. I was going to take my time. I was going to wait until the day it would hurt the most, and then I'd say exactly 7 words. He's not mine. He's yours, remember? The opportunity came on his 20th birthday. We were hosting a dinner at our house, just family and a few close friends. Karen was buzzing with energy, planning every detail. Balloons, his favorite lasagna, a playlist of songs from his childhood. David came early. Of course he did. He brought a new watch, expensive, sleek, in a velvet box. "From your favorite uncle," he said, laughing. Our son grinned and hugged him. "You're the best." I watched that hug like a man watching someone else live his life. And then I knew this was the night. Dinner came and went. People laughed. Wine flowed. Old stories resurfaced. I let it all play out. Then came the toasts. Karen went first. Tearful, proud, emotional. David went second. Talked about watching him grow up. "He's like my own," he joked. The table chuckled. And then it was my turn. I stood, glass in hand. I looked at my son, at Karen, at David, and I said, 20 years ago, I held a boy in my arms and promised I'd protect him, raise him, love him. I kept that promise, even when I knew from the start that he wasn't mine. Silence. Dead, choking silence. Karen's face drained of color. David's smile vanished. Our son froze, and then I added, calmly, "You've always wondered why you look like him, why I always seemed distant. Now you know." I sat down, and I sipped my wine. No one said a word, not for 10, maybe 15 seconds. It was like I'd pulled a pin from a grenade and just placed it gently in the center of the table. My son stared at me, blinking, lips slightly parted. Karen's hand went to her chest. David didn't blink. Finally, our son said, "What?" I looked straight at him. "You're not biologically mine," I said evenly. "I found out with the DNA test. You belong to him." I nodded toward David. Karen stood up so fast her chair tipped backward. "Tom? What the hell are you?" I held up a hand. "Don't. Not tonight. Not in front of everyone." Guests began to excuse themselves. Someone mumbled, "I think we should give them space." Another couple left without saying anything at all. The room emptied, except for the three of them. Me, Karen, David, and the boy caught in the middle of a 2-decade lie. He sat down slowly, like his legs couldn't hold him anymore. You tested me?" he asked, his voice small. "I did," I said, 3 months ago." Karen rushed to his side. "Sweetheart, please, don't listen to him like this. He's twisting it." "I'm not twisting anything," I said. "I just told the truth, something no one else had the guts to do." David stayed standing, frozen like a statue, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. Our son turned to Karen. "Is it true?" She hesitated, just for a moment, and that moment was the last nail in the coffin. He saw it. "Mom?" she whispered. "Yes." He stood up fast, took a few steps back. "You lied to me my whole life." "I didn't mean to," she said. "It was complicated. I was scared, but your dad, he raised you, he loved you." "Don't," I said coldly. "Don't pull that line. You made me a fool, both of you." Then he looked at me. "Why didn't you say anything sooner?" I took a deep breath. "Because I loved you more than I hated the lie. And I was waiting for the right moment to destroy the people who gave me that lie. David finally spoke. "Look, this isn't the place," he said. "We should talk privately, all of us." I turned to him. "You had 20 years to talk privately. Now it's public." He stepped forward. "I never wanted this to happen, but it did," I cut in, "and you let it happen, again and again." Karen grabbed David's arm, panicked. "We should leave." "No," I said. "He stays. I want him to hear this." I walked over to the bookshelf and pulled out a folder. Thick, clean, marked only with the word truth. I tossed it on the table. Inside, printouts of the DNA results, photos of Karen and David together from over the years, timeline of Karen's pregnancy, business trips, and David's visits. A copy of my updated will. "What's this?" David asked, opening it. "My legacy," I said, "and the evidence I've already shared with my lawyer." Karen's voice cracked. "What are you trying to do?" I looked at her and said, "Erase you, piece by piece, quietly, legally, permanently." "I'm changing the deed on the house," I said. "You'll have 30 days to move out." Karen's eyes widened. "You can't." "I can. It was in my name before the marriage. I just reclaimed it." David turned pale. "You're doing this to punish her." "No," I said calmly. "This is justice." I looked at my son. "You'll always be welcome here, but I won't pretend anymore. I won't lie for them. If you want to know me, really know me, I'm here. If not, I understand." He was silent. Karen broke down, tears, pleading. "Tom, please don't throw away everything." "You already did." I turned to David. "And as for you, I sent copies of everything to your wife and your kids. Maybe they'll want to know where your loyalty really lies." That hit like a brick. David stumbled back as if punched. "You didn't." "I did." I looked at them both. "You had 20 years to do the right thing. I only needed one night." Then I left the room, and I didn't look back. The next morning the house was silent, too silent, the kind of silence that isn't peaceful. It's hollow. Empty chairs, a cold cup of coffee untouched, and a family that no longer existed. I stood at the window and watched the wind move the trees. It was beautiful in a lonely sort of way, like something had been cleared out, but not yet healed. That night, none of them came home, and I didn't ask where they went. 3 days passed, then the phone rang. It was my son. He didn't say hello. He just asked, "Can I see you?" He came alone. No Karen, no David. He looked older than he had 3 days ago, more tired. His eyes were red. We sat on the porch in silence for a while. I didn't push him. Finally he asked, "Why did you raise me, if you knew?" It was the only question that mattered. I answered simply, "Because love isn't biology, it's choice, and I chose you every damn day." He wiped his face. Then he whispered, "I'm sorry." A week later, I saw David at the grocery store. He looked like hell. Dark circles, shoulders slumped, clothes wrinkled. He avoided eye contact. I didn't. I walked right past him. He didn't say a word, didn't even try. 2 weeks later, Karen called. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. "I lost everything. You were right. I was selfish. I lied to you, to him, to myself, and I hate who I became. I never stopped loving you, even if I didn't deserve you." I didn't delete it. I didn't call back either. Some things don't need answers. I found out from a friend that David's wife filed for divorce, took the kids, the house. The business was under review for ethics violations after a tip, one I may or may not have sent anonymously. He had nothing left but guilt and silence. And Karen? She moved into a small apartment outside of town, left her job. I imagine she spends her days in reflection or regret. That's not my concern anymore. Weeks passed, then months. Spring turned to summer, and the silence became familiar. Not comforting, but survivable. People stopped asking questions, stopped whispering, stopped texting. It was as if the storm had passed, but I still lived in its ruins. One afternoon, I was cleaning out the garage when I found an old photo album. Our son's 3rd birthday. Karen holding the cake. David in the background, grinning. Me in the middle, smiling like I had everything. I sat down on the cold concrete floor and stared at that picture for a long time. I wasn't angry anymore. I was tired. So I closed the album and I put it away. I called my son. "Want to come by for dinner?" I asked. He said yes. And when he arrived, I opened the door and hugged him like I had when he was 5. Not because I had to, not out of duty, but because I still loved him, not for who he was, but for what he meant. And because sometimes, even after betrayal, the heart finds its way back to what matters.